I'm Arnold Shuchat of the Shuchat Group, Sutton Group West Coast Realty, and I'm in front of Silver City. And I was on my way to the arena, and if God or the devil wanted to tempt me on the way to the arena, he would put a motorcycle school here. So I screeched to the side of the road and pulled over, and I met this gentleman, Lee Ridefar, who runs a motorcycle school here. I mean, the entire parking lot, even while COVID wasn't on, was being used in the off time when movies aren't shown to run a motorcycle school. I said, let's set up a meeting. I got to find out about this. I'm at that age.
Well, during the pandemic, the world wasn't dangerous enough for a lot of people, so they decided they needed motorcycles in their lives. So we were busier than we thought we were. People really wanted to get back outdoors. They did not like being sitting at home. They needed to get out there and ride motorcycles, even if it was riskier. But riding motorcycles is riskier, but it's an acceptable amount of risk. So even for you, Arnie, it would be just fine to be out there.
You know, it's the even for me part that bothers. What do you mean by even?
Anybody can ride motorcycles. It just may take a few more lessons, or our course is enough for you.
So you say even, one of the coolest moments I had was leaving that arena on a rainy night. I got back, it was like, I don't know, 9 o'clock. It was dark, it might've been November. As I'm walking to my car, there was this motorcycle that looked like something a superhero with all missing was a quiver of arrows.
Yeah.
Engine turned off, pulls into the parking lot right there, and there's a goalie bag on the back of the person with the stick sticking out.
Yeah.
Gets off the bike, takes her helmet off, and there's this beautiful head of hair with the goalie bag. Nothing is stopping her from playing hockey.
Right.
I said, somebody's on the ball here, has grabbed life by the shorts and said, let's have some fun.
Well,
right?
that's definitely something a goalie would do.
You know, I play goalie too.
Yeah.
We start on Thursday.
Yeah, so if you're facing off a bunch of frozen pucks at your head, riding a motorcycle seems like a pretty low risk thing to do.
Well, you know, it's not. They didn't ask me on my insurance thing if I play goalie.
Yeah.
I'm well equipped. Let me ask you something. So it's June 22nd. It feels like the hottest day of the second day of summer, maybe the first day technically, right?
Yeah.
And it's bloody hot, and you need protective gear. And I saw you came in here looking like Spider-Man.
Yes.
How bloody hot is it? And you're going to wear that if it's 40 degrees out, you're going to be protected.
Oh, and I
right?
have, yes.
And like, are you dying inside that at a red light?
Yeah, so it's like wearing a sauna.
Goalie. It's like goalie equipment.
Yeah.
I lose 4 pounds sometimes playing there. I don't even move.
And you're in a frozen ice rink.
Yeah, that's right. So I can imagine.
So yeah, it's uncomfortable wearing motorcycle gear. However, if you keep moving, it's much more manageable. But I also wear lighter colored motorcycle gear that's vented. So I try to wear like light gray or white with lots of venting, and it's much more manageable than completely black gear.
Supposing I want to get my motorcycle license, right? And I'm kind of coordinated. I'm pretty good with machines and stuff like that. And like, how long is it going to take me? Let's say I come in on a Monday and you're not booked solid.
Right.
Right. And you're available. I'm not saying private, or I bring a bunch of friends in and we all want to do this. There's a school portion.
Yes.
Right? You got to pass that exam, like even when you go for a license, right?
Yeah, so you go to ICBC and get your learner's license there. Once you have that magical yellow paper.
With an exam, you write an exam.
Yeah, it's a multiple choice test. So you pass that, you get your yellow paper, I can then train you, and then it's going to be 18 hours. 7 hours in a classroom, 11 hours on a training lot. Then I can test you at the end of that. If you pass that test, I give you more paper, which you bring to ICBC, and then they'll release the restrictions on your learner's license. Yeah, it can be done over an evening and a weekend, and you're done. And it may seem like a short amount of time.
Long. Yeah.
Or long. It really, anyone that calls me, they have a different opinion of it. So, but it really doesn't take a long time to get on a motorcycle. So it's easy to get into. The hard part is staying safe.
Any CVT transmissions, like any of the cars, or any automatic transmissions? You don't want to play with the gears?
Yeah, there's 1% of motorcycles that are automatic. So they are out there, and most scooters are automatic.
Right. And what about electric?
Electric? Yeah, electric is pretty much automatic, so you wouldn't have to shift any gears on that.
Is it coming in terms of the market share? You feel it?
It's already there, but it's still pretty expensive to get into.
What?
And it doesn't have the range either.
Another range, but it's got the acceleration, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Motorcycles have no problem with acceleration. Even small ones like the ones we're sitting on.
Like it's faster than you necessarily want to accelerate. So what do you need it for?
Correct.
Right,
yeah.
What is the range on a decent electric motorcycle?
You'll get about 200 kilometers out of it, but it really depends how you use it. If you're on the highway, then the battery life is going to be less. But if you're stop and go with your motorcycle,
it recharges like the cars, right?
It'll last longer.
Okay, what's this 18 hours of bliss with the sun beating down on us? What's it going to cost me?
It's going to cost you $800.
$800. And so if I signed up today, it's June 22nd.
Yeah.
I made myself available. How long would it take me to study for that little motorcycle exam?
It wouldn't take you very long. You have a book, and then you don't go through it. Take about an hour.
What's the difference between that and the car license study?
Then with a motorcycle, there's different positions you'll be in the lane, and if you have to ride over, railway tracks, you have to go directly straight over them. You wouldn't want to go at too much of an angle because your tires might get caught in the tracks.
Lawsuit went all the way to the Supreme Court. Guy on a bicycle got caught on the tracks going the same way, and the groove was too big, and you got to know that. You know that riding a bike in the forest with tree roots.
Correct. You need to know more about your tires and where you're riding. On a car, you don't worry about it. On a motorcycle, you do.
All right. And let's say I can buy a motorcycle without a motorcycle license. I just can't drive it out of the store, right?
Correct.
What would it cost me to pick up something reasonable that I'm just going to use around town?
Just around town? Used or new?
No, let's say new. Let's just talk new, for example.
Brand new, okay.
Yeah, like I don't want something really heavy.
Yeah.
I played hockey enough years. The shoulders there's a lot of play from the time you put the brakes. It's like, so what are we talking? Would a 500cc be cool?
Yep, that would get you to where you need to be, no problem. Even 400, even 300cc.
Could I do 500cc to Whistler, no problem?
You can do 300cc to Whistler.
It's not about the power.
The amount of power they get out of smaller engines now is more than enough. Like the Kawasaki Ninja 400 or its brother, the Z400, has over 50 horsepower on its 400cc engine. Wow. So I love that bike because it's a small bike with a lot of power, and it goes 0 to 60 in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So really, why do you need any more than that?
As a realtor, I was downtown yesterday, and I was thinking this one street that there's no place to park. It's like Pacific, just after Burrard, and the buildings are on Pacific. There's no place to stop.
Yeah.
I was thinking, a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I'll take Granny with me on the back. I mean, how easy? Do you find it easy to park anywhere downtown? Is it just much easier than a car?
Yeah. There's also spaces where you can park, which are kind of like this gray area where you couldn't get a ticket.
Do you have to pay car rates when you pull your motorcycle into a car spot?
No, you pay on green-headed meters. You can pay cheaper rates.
Cool. Yeah. So it's actually encouraging the.
Yes, it is. Or you can if you've got your buddies, you can park 5 or 6 motorcycles in the same metered stall.
Right on.
Yes.
I don't know how you divvy that up over the beer you're not supposed to drink.
Yeah.
But you didn't answer my question, probably because we got sidetracked, which does happen. What's it going to cost me for a 350 to 500cc bike?
Probably we'll call $6,000, give or take either way. Out the door, taxes and fees.
And servicing on that, what's it going to cost? Is there there's not much servicing in a year?
No, if you get a brand new bike, you'll do a first service, which will cost you $300.
Oil change?
At 1,000 kilometers. Then you wouldn't need to do anything till about 10,000 kilometers.
What are they doing at 1,000 kilometers? They're not just changing the oil.
Just changing the oil and making sure all the bolts are tight. Because it just came from the factory.
The chain has got the right, is there chain
Exactly,
tension,
yeah.
right?
Chain drive, just the check over. Because even though it came from the factory and it was put together, we're humans, things can be missed. So it's an oil change and just to make sure it's safe.
Most of them still chain driven like bicycles, or they have direct shafts. I know someone who.
Yes.
Chains have their risks too when they come off, right?
Yeah.
So they're still mostly chain driven?
Yes.
Okay, so $6,000, what's the insurance?
Insurance depends on your rate. Like how much of a disaster are you driving a car? Do you have a bunch of speeding tickets and traffic fines?
I got the 42% off or 43%.
Perfect. So you would probably have to spend $80 to $100 a month on insurance.
Even if I have a car as my principal vehicle?
Correct.
Can't buy a collector?
Yeah, if you get a 25-year-old motorcycle that's all original, including the paint, you can apply for collector status, which would be $500 for the year or less.
So what do you have to say to all the people out in TV land that have the cliches? you're a crazy fool, right?
Right.
What do you tell? You know what he does? He saves lives, because you're going to get a good education on a motorcycle. Really,
Yeah.
it's about risk reduction in anything you do, right?
Yes.
Look, you got Navy pilots landing on aircraft carriers, and they say it's crazy, but when you do it and you practice and you get trained,
Yes.
it's not as risky, right?
Yeah, when you learn to ride motorcycles in a safe environment, it's going to be a lot more encouraging and easier to get into, and you'll be able to justify the risk you're taking on.
Okay, so looking at this place here, it's a wide open parking lot where, I'll just move the camera. So you can see you got a big parking lot. You could probably get 100 miles an hour on this before you do. But the question is, what are the skills that I'm going to have to do here? I see people driving slowly. What's going to be my challenge? Seeing how slow I can drive without putting my feet to the ground? Like, what are the skill sets you're looking for that's going to mean, oh, this guy's going to graduate pretty well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need good balance. So you need to be able to ride a bicycle really well. And if I could get everyone to ride a bicycle for an hour or two before they took their motorcycle course, my pass rate would be 100%.
What is pass rate? Who checks you? Go back to ICBC, they check.
We test you here, and our pass rate is above 90%. But yeah, it's not 100, it's somewhere in between.
I mean, you have to sign off like an engineer and a guy does a course?
Correct.
So ICB doesn't come here, there's nobody riding with you?
Yeah, like I'm an ICBC assessment officer. So they have approved me to do the second test, the MST test.
And you get to do that on your own students?
Correct.
Wow, okay.
So we make it as easy as possible to just get your feet wet and see what it's all about. And then it's really up to you where you want to take it.
Have you got a demo day? A demo day for someone who just wants to try like one lesson before the class and just see if it's something they want to do?
We can do private lessons. Like, you still need your motorcycle learner's license.
Right.
So you can't ride a motorcycle even in a parking lot. Well, like, we're an accredited facility with ICBC, so it's got to be a motorcycle learner's license. But then an hour lesson, private, it's $120.
And what's your mileage on that? What's your fuel mileage on one of these things?
One of these, yeah, the bike I'm riding right now is 5.7 liters per 100 kilometers.
It's the same as my hybrid.
Yeah.
Exact same.
Yeah, but I'm having a lot more fun.
You know, maybe. maybe. I see. Do you get a computer readout of
Yes.
your mileage? Yeah.
The bike does tell me the fuel mileage, but a motorcyclist never is really concerned about their fuel mileage. It's more how many miles are we getting per kilometer.
And your range? What's your range on one of these?
Range would be 250 to 300 kilometers.
That's it. So it's not much more than electric, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It's just
the
easy to
fuel
fill up.
tank can never be that big.
But it's easy to fill up.
It is easy to fill up.
All right. So what do you want to tell? What's the one message you want to get across? What do? You have to call up for a lesson? Can you?
Yeah, go to our website, see what's available, read all the details, and just see if it's for you. So yeah, the course may feel like it costs a lot, but we're going to provide you with the motorcycle, some armor jacket, the necessary space to learn the basics.
You don't have to buy any equipment to really sign up. And
you need to buy the helmet and gloves. We used to provide that because of the pandemic with your hands and face. You got to have your own safety gear to start.
You know, when the movie theater starts, you could actually go watch the new Van Diesel movie. You've seen it on TV.
Yeah.
And come here for your motorcycle lesson right
Yeah.
now to get a couple of hours. So you can really do this on the weekend and lock it up, right?
Yeah, and then you'll kind of know if it's for you or if it's not. But it's also a good skill to have for your entire life, because once you learn to ride, you never forget. You just get rusty.
So is there a place in town you could actually rent bikes?
Yeah, there is. So once you pass the MST test here, then you can rent a motorcycle.
Are those where the accidents happen?
No,
Or they're
the
all
accidents
different bikes?
happen when you are riding better than you think you are. The overconfidence and the getting complacent.
It costs to rent a bike for a day.
Probably $150 a day. Or yeah, thereabouts. The rates change. It depends on the size of the motorcycle.
Try to get something out of your system for that day, right?
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Anything else you want to say?
No,
Got you here. It's great. I think you have a fantastic idea. All the equipment's here. All the motorcycles are here. You got a good group of instructors. And bring water.
yeah,
Bring water. We're kind of roasting. There's no plumbing too. So
there's bathrooms nearby.
for the Shuchat Group, Sutton West Coast Realty. And what's the name of your motorcycle school?
First Gear Motorcycle
Yeah,
Training.
Lee Ridefar. Thanks for watching.
All right, thanks, Arnie.
Have a great day.